Hello and welcome back to the AI-Enabled GTM. You've heard me say that, the buying journey doesn't end with a signed contract. Customers don't buy for the sake of signing a contract, right? They buy to implement, they buy to produce an intended outcome or something like that, right? So that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus a little bit more on the post-sale application of AI in the go-to-market, because that, by the way, that's still part of the go-to-market journey, is taking care of your customer and keeping the customer. So I'm honored today to be joined by Tim Masson, who's the co-founder and advisor of a very large, successful recruiting firm called Raise Recruiting. But before we dive in and have Tim tell us a little bit about what Raise does, I've got a request for all of our thousands of mutual friends out there. This channel is in its infancy, and we need your help to grow it. So hit the subscribe button, like the video, which I'm sure you will. It's easy, free, and really helps us out. And by the way, if you have a magic aha moment at any time in the show, comment, put it in the comments. As it turns out, the algorithm loves comments. So please use them. Now, without further ado, Tim, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about Raise Recruiting and what you're up to there, who you serve, what kind of industries they're in, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Stu. And again, thanks for having me on your show. Really exciting to be here.
Pleasure.
Um, so yes, Raise. The most common question I get is what industry do you recruit for? And actually we don't really recruit for a single industry. What we've
Hmm.
kind of become more is a bit of a platform company that provides contingent or contract staffing services. But really what we work with our clients is kind of installing, technology and platforms that make the procurement of those services more efficient overall and more, kind of better for the candidates, a better experience, faster to sort of source and identify contract workers. And then also by kind of, creating volume and consolidating volume, we're able to actually make it more affordable and less expensive for our clients as well.
That's excellent. I mean, that's really dispels the theory that all recruiting firms are body shops, right? This is far deeper than that. There's far more to it. So the question comes up often, when I'm talking to people, hey, aren't you worried that by continuing to promote the use of AI in all of these different jobs that you're actually sending people home? So have you seen anything? Have you seen any trends or anything like that with AI replacing any of the roles that Raise would typically provide services for?
Yeah. It's a good question. I haven't done that analysis. I like at a macro level, our
Yes.
our company's growing, but I think it's because of again the technology and services we implement and service, and so our client share is growing, our market share is growing within clients, and so I see us being on a good trend. What I guess I haven't done is an analysis of like role by role, what roles are changing, disappearing, evolving. But yeah, I mean, we'll probably get into talking about this. I know my own experience too is that like I am using AI so much in my daily work now, and honestly, it's just giving me more work, and it's also making me take on more work because I think I can accomplish more than I did before. Like I'm like a superhuman, and yet I'm like,
Right.
well, I could be more of a superhuman, So I don't know, like maybe that's just a moment or a phase, but I'm maybe more optimistic than the doomsayers about where this is all going.
That is just superb to hear. I've actually had one other guest say it's like putting on the Iron Man suit.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
exactly,
so there you go.
exactly.
So tell me, let's talk a little bit more about that. You mentioned, the ways that you're you're enabling companies to think about things in a different way. What an AI initiatives do you have underway at Raise Recruiting, and why? What problems or opportunities are you trying to solve for?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, so within our clients and our services directly, we're doing a number of things. We're using some different AI systems. Like we have, AI recruiters. So we used to have, for example, like most staffing companies, probably most job applications. Like I think maybe 5% of people that apply for a job get actually contacted. Now we have it where because we can scale that up. We have AI bots that optionally, right? Like we can send a text message back to the person who applied and say, "Hey, do you want to talk to our AI recruiter?" Right? And so then we can have a very like a rich conversation. Just like I don't know if you use
Yeah.
the voice mode on your AI, like in the car, to
Right.
to query it and whatnot, but to have a kind of a rich conversation with an AI bot that's recording kind of a pre-screen interview and then assembling that data and forwarding it back to our recruiters and subsequent calls and stuff like that. So we're actually getting, I mean, some people hate it, but we're actually getting like ratings like 4.5 stars on average.
Wow.
Because folks feel like like I got a contact, I had a touch point, I applied for this thing, and at least I heard something about it. And so at least in this moment, that's an example of kind of where one of the systems we're using. We have another, AI system that we've developed that does like a coding interview. So where a person can
Okay.
actually kind of get on a computer and demonstrate their work, and then AI helps evaluate the quality. Like it's kind of the quality and depth of the
Ah,
work, as opposed to just kind of saying, again, you can't trust a resume anymore because every resume is just created by one of these AI systems. So
right. Exactly.
it's a more of a proof of work approach. And those are kind of in the business. I think we're doing a ton. I know your focus is go to market, so like massive amount of like internal effort and even just what we present or how we present to clients is shaped by efforts, tools, and even our service delivery is shaped internally more and more by support from AI tools like Claude, especially.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting comment that I won't get into one versus the other, but I get it. You think that Claude is doing a better job for you?
I mean, we kind of are like our employees in our company are about, let's say, 300 employees. And we had about a year ago, everyone started wanting ChatGPT professional accounts. So we started, rolling those out. And I think we got up to about 45 accounts and people were using it. But I think about 3 or 4 months ago, we started experimenting with Claude and it was like, let's get 5 accounts and see how this is. And it just
Yes.
took off. Today we have, 65, 70 accounts
Wow.
in Claude and people are using it dramatically more. And I think it's like, again, I think ChatGPT is evolving too, but it's just so much more for actually doing like, business level work. ChatGPT will actually process a spreadsheet rather than just tell you it's going to process it. And it will
Yes.
actually create a compelling and useful slide or a Word document. Whereas, at least the models I was using, OpenAI models up to 6 months ago before I started switching were they would often the model would say, "I'll do this for you," and then you do it, and it would kind of come out like your slide would look like it was produced like in a terminal window, like instead of actually being, kind of
Right.
marketable. So
Right.
yeah, we're definitely finding, um, the tool set is more. I think the big difference is that Claude was developed for coding. So really when you
Yes.
give it a prompt, it makes a plan, it starts like thinking about and executing the plan. It does like a multi-step process and kind of at the end it starts to fill out its work and then check itself. Whereas I mean ChatGPT is kind of like it's almost like it just starts talking and then it's down a path and it just
Yeah.
finishes whatever direction it's going. And again, I imagine that's evolving, but for us it just uh, yeah, and the other thing, and maybe we'll talk about this. The other thing I really like in the Claude kind of infrastructure is just the projects, the design of the projects functionality and that kind of stuff.
That's actually exactly where I wanted to go next, because I remember last week we chatted really briefly. You talked a little bit about doing sort of a dedicated project for your largest customers. What do you mean by that? What do those things look like? What are they?
Yeah, so this is new. It's something we're just kind of learning, but at
Yeah.
least architecturally, kind of what I like is a project's really like a folder with information in it, right? So you
Okay.
you take that project and you put a bunch of files in it, like customer agreements, and maybe even the RFP originally did, and then maybe the MSAs and the like all the other details, and maybe other even intake conversations you had, transcripts. So you start to take all those materials, and then you would what I do is there's kind of like a project has a bunch of files and
Yeah.
then it has access. So who has access? And it's again another feature like you would only rather than you would give it only access to the people in your company that are directly servicing that client, right? So that context is still somewhat protected. And then I think the middle thing is there's a thing called instructions. So you can kind of, I'd say, put
Ah,
in a couple of paragraphs there where you're telling you're telling the AI, the model how to behave. So like, hey, I want candid feedback. I don't want you, to kind of just pat me on the back and tell me I'm right. I want you to be,
right.
constructive and that kind of stuff. So you're generally controlling the behavior of the project. And then what I like to do is get the AI itself to go through all of the files and documents that we've created and kind of create like a README file or like a guidance file, that a summary file that says,
Ah, got it.
here's like the total, here's the high level explanation of this client, their relationship, and then here's the references to all these files in here. And then in the instructions, you would put in, in addition to its high level behavioral instructions you want to give it, say, and before you do anything, read this README file so you understand the whole project context. Like,
Got it.
that makes sense. So that's kind of like the design. And we're
100%.
kind of, putting then every chat that you start off of that project already knows everything about that client. And
Right.
so every
Right.
worker that has access to that can be interacting in an environment that's sort of, very quickly trained for that client context. And then think of having one of those for every one of your major accounts, up to a certain point.
Right.
That's kind of
Right.
how
But
we've
I
architected it
love
right
this
now.
whole concept of giving it the context, right, of the client. And often you said, you can put a bunch of files up there. I've seen some of these large MSAs and
Yeah.
agreements, and there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of data there. And for a human to have to internalize all that and put all the context together sort of immediately in order to come up with a plan to have a conversation with the client, this has got to really help. Is that what you're
Yeah.
finding?
Yes, and like I'll say, but the AI doesn't know every word or every token for the AI is equal to the next one. So it doesn't know how to weight or give emphasis. And I think that's what the instructions in the project and the
Right.
README file really help it do, is sort of get it oriented towards, the forest and the trees. Hey, here's generally the forest. And yeah, you can go look at these trees if we need to for some detail. But broadly speaking, here's kind of, and that README file or whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
project file, you can keep that up to date. Maybe as the client keeps evolving, you could keep updating, what's in there. You can edit it just with Notepad if you want to, or you can have Claude edit it for
Yeah.
you, of course.
Have
So,
Claude edit it for you. Are you also, I think you mentioned this, but I just want to confirm, you're also using that first person information, right? The recording of calls,
yeah,
transcripts,
I mean,
things like
that's a
that?
huge thing. I think it's just like an absolute waste of time, like in these days, to spend time talking to someone, especially about anything detailed, client
Yes.
related intake of, and not get a recorded transcript that you can. Now, does it make sense for every one of those full transcripts to be in a project folder? Might not, might be an overload of information. There's kind of actually, if you talk to Claude itself about like
Yeah.
what's the balance of like, too much or not enough, and what summary level, what matters, there's a balance you strike with all of this. But in what's probably more helpful is you have a transcript. Now you start a chat off the project and you load the transcript and you say, after this meeting, I'm trying to, what were the insights I gleaned? What are the, rather than getting the generic AI summary out of Zoom or Otter or whatever tool you're using, you get now a customized one that from a machine, an AI that understands the context of the client. So it's a lot more tuned to what actually matters as a meeting summary and outcome.
Honestly, I think that's a huge insight. And thank you for that, because you should be doing this, right? All of you watching watching this video, this is exactly what you should be doing, is using AI in that larger context so it can understand and the instructions. And this is one of the reasons, Tim, I called this channel the AI-Enabled GTM with the subtitle Human Led, because I
Yeah.
think those instructions are critically important, right? So that it doesn't go off and, like you said, just have a conversation with you and tell you, oh, yeah, you're a smart guy today. Good work, Tim.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I've had that too often. All right. Tell me a little bit about the future. We're almost at time here. So what do you see as do you see any sort of significant opportunities for you to take this to the next level? What are some of the future, maybe transformative or projects that you're thinking about applying AI to?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the growing thing that I'm getting a little bit excited about, but haven't really
Yeah.
tried too much. But I think that really might be possible is, um, just when you get deeper into actually the coding system. So if you have a technical team within your company or whatever,
Yeah.
the ability to say, and a bunch of my friends have software as a service companies, and they're terrified because they think, oh, anyone's going to be able to like recreate my app,
Right.
overnight, kind of thing. So as a service provider, I'm kind of like, okay, why not recreate these apps overnight? But make them like, if your customer is, needing some unique business process or some unique software or some like, or even just, give them a magic wand. Hey, tell me what you could do. Like, yes, you're
Yeah.
providing the services you're providing, like we are, but how could we interact with that? What tools or custom technology could we create that would
Brilliant.
dramatically enhance what they're doing as a customer and kind of continue to evolve and enhance the relationship. So because, and I think that's, I get excited about it because then you're enabling the dreams and the goals and the ideas of the people that you work with and that you serve within your business. And
Yeah.
that's really
Absolutely. I
cool.
mean, that is, you know, enabling the outcomes to be enhanced in an
Yeah.
amazing way. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a brilliant insight. All right, so want to respect your time, want to respect everybody's time. We're running out of it, but do you have any sort of parting thoughts or advice that you'd want to give the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I just think like these tools are amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I I don't know. I guess my thing is just they're not hard to use, right? Like just
yeah. There you go.
start using them, give it a try, record some transcripts, see what these tools can do in terms of helping you, ask the tools to like do research for you, go out online and gather, knowledge or background or context that you may not be exposed to, and just kind of interact with it.
Yeah,
Don't take it at face value. It's not a set of facts. It's almost like a conversation or dialogue partner to help you continue to move your strategic thinking forward. So that's kind of what I would say is just, jump in, get one of these
Ben,
tools and start playing with it. Yeah,
jump in and use it.
they're easy to
Brilliant.
use. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think some of the things you're doing here are absolutely groundbreaking and fascinating. So, good luck with that, and congratulations on the great success that you've already achieved at Raise, and I know you're going to do even more. So, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it, Tim. So, for our audience, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us, and I greatly appreciate it. And one last thing, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. The link is below in the description. I'll make sure I put it in the YouTube description. So until next time, be safe, be well, and know that we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Stu.